Okay.
And
Well,
I don't know if I'm doing
the
it
thing
right.
is, don't expect that to like just turn on.
Right.
That's going to be probably several months
Okay.
of getting used to it. When I see the three main right hand approaches with the finger style picking. One is the fixed anchor, where you super glue your thumb someplace and then
Yep.
just move around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that, of course, creates all kind of muting issues that you might have. Especially with 5 and 6 string basses. I mean, it gets really crazy to try to figure out how to. It's almost, I mean, you almost spend more time trying to keep stuff quiet than try to play something, right? So, but I mean, some people make it work and it's fine. The other is the movable anchor, where they'll have their thumb somewhere when they're playing on the E string or the lowest string, and then, as they move from string to string, the thumb just stays a string behind it, kind of hops up and down, and that's fine for keeping this usually the two strings below what you're playing, because the thumb can sit in between and touch two, right? But if I'm like playing on the G and my thumb's touching the D and the A, there's nothing keeping the E and B from ringing. Now, some people will bring their third and fourth fingers back. So like John Patitucci plays this way.
Mm-hmm.
He'll bring his third finger and fourth finger back to where he'll touch the lower strings. And he'll do this kind of thing.
Right.
That's just the way he kind of learned how to play. I mean, when he did it, so, when he was talking about right hand stuff, he said somebody asked him about it. He had to look at his hand and see what he was doing. He hadn't really thought about it, just kind of figured it out on its own. But that kind of contorts if I'm playing on my C string, I'm using all that hand energy just to do that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
See, my hand fits naturally that way, so I think what you said is what I'm naturally doing.
Yeah, so I mean, whatever, it's not like you got to do the floating thumb. If you find something that works and you don't have string issues and your hand's not compromised because of what you're doing, then, it's fine. Because, basically my premise on, technique and hand positions is if the music's right, the technique has to be right.
Okay.
Because if my eyes were closed and I was listening to you play and it's just smoking from top to bottom, right? I open my eyes and you're playing it with your toes. It doesn't matter. You know?
Yeah.
So again, if the music's right, the technique has to be right. But you also have to balance that with, okay, how much am I compromising something else to achieve that? I mean, right? So it's balance. This against that. Because there's always going to be somebody's. In any decision, it's like in society. If government makes a decision, somebody's going to get screwed.
Right.
It may help a lot of people, but there's some guy out there that's going to get hit. So there's always a balancing act. So the floating thumb seems to, for me, be the equalizer, because the two thing I like about it the best is that it keeps everything quiet with no extra effort. Right? All the lower strings are taken care of easily, and I'm not expending any extra effort other than getting the hand used to being like that. That was the effort, and because I'd been playing 30 plus years the other way, when I changed, it took me a good 3 or 4 years to get comfortable with it. I mean, it takes time. So it kind of drifted as time went on. I just kind of slowly got, I had to think about it less and less and less. But the best part is it always keeps the hand in the most relaxed position no matter where you're playing on the instrument. Like if I'm on the C string, my thumb's not working, or my hand's not working any differently than it does on the B. It just does this.
So I think the other thing I'm struggling with, so you talked about not resting your arm, so not coming across like this.
Yeah, the floating thumb is not going to work well that way.
Right.
But a bigger issue with that is that you're putting pressure on the veins taking blood out of the hand. Right? So any significant pressure here is interfering with blood flow. I mean, if you can look at your arm and see your veins, it's not going to take a lot to cramp up those, jam up those pipes, And I've seen people that really dig in, and they're sitting there wondering why their fingers are going numb.
Right, the base is worn right there, right?
Yeah, Plus, another thing about having your hand having to have this support here is that it gets away from freedom of movement. So that if you're doing stuff, more hybrid kind of, like where you're moving in and out of different techniques, if you have your arm free, the hand is free to really work.
Okay.
It just frees it up. Now you're going to notice that your shoulder's going to get tired at first because it's not used to. All of a sudden, your shoulder's going, dude, what happened?
Okay, that was my question. I feel like I'm doing something wrong because I'm hurt. It's just not.
Yeah, it's going to. Anyway. It's going to take It's probably going to take a good month for that shoulder to get acclimated to it. And as it gets tired, give yourself a lot of breaks. Don't, as with all physical activity, if it starts to bother you, then your body's going, So listen.
I found that standing it works better, at least to get it correct. Or at least the thought has better. So I'm working towards being able to sit correctly.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that the base is always in the same place. When I stand up, if I sit down, if I'm sitting, the base is always hanging from the strap as it would as if I were standing up. I always make sure that happens. So always practicing the way you're going to play. In other words, find out what your performance position is going to be, and what you want. So for me, it's this.
I'm right here.
Right? So, but if I sit down, my hands are free to go to the base. It's just like.
Just right there.
Right. And another thing, if you can check yourself, if you play, let's say you're playing, I'll let go and the bass moves, you're using hand energy to hold the instrument. That should be done by the strap. Mm-hmm. So that when you're playing, no matter what you're doing, all the hands are doing is playing the bass. So if you let go and the bass doesn't move, you're there.